Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a special meeting and work session of the Salisbury City Council. We will begin tonight with the special meeting, and at this time, I'll call for a motion to adopt the special meeting agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Blake made the motion. Ms. Jackson seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda,
Aye.
Ms. Jackson,
Aye.
Ms. Blake,
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. The legislative agenda is approved by a vote of 5-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution number 3102.
So move.
Second.
Jackson made the motion. Mr. Boda seconded. Ms. Glantz?
Good evening, Council. Good to see everybody again. Resolution number 3102, a resolution of the City of Salisbury, Maryland, appointing the law firm Woodison and DeShiel, PA, as special counsel. Whereas Section SC9-1 of the Charter of the City of Salisbury provides in pertinent part, there shall be a Department of Law headed by the city solicitor. The city solicitor and any assistant city solicitor shall be appointed by and serve at the pleasure of the mayor and majority of the full council. Whereas effective April 2nd, 2021, Cocky Brandon Maloney, PC, has been named the city solicitor. Whereas the administration, with the approval of council, desires to appoint special counsel to advise the city and provide legal representation for and on behalf of the city with respect to any matters and or disputes that arise when there is a conflict of interest with Cocky Brandon Maloney, PC.
Thank you. Questions from the council? Mr. Boda?
No questions. I just think this is a wise move to at least not have to go looking for someone when you need someone. So I think it's wise to have somebody in the batter's box when we need them.
Yeah. Ms. Jackson?
No questions. I concur with Mayor.
Yep. Ms. Blake?
No questions.
Thank you. Mrs. Gregory?
No questions.
Thank you. I concur as well. Once we do this, we have the ability to get quick action from an alternate council. I think that's a great idea. So with that, I will call the motion. All those in favor of resolution number 3102, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda,
Aye.
Ms. Jackson,
Aye.
Ms. Blake,
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Resolution number 3102 is approved by a vote of 5-0. That being the only item on the agenda, this special meeting of the Salisbury City Council is adjourned. We'll now proceed with the work session items. And the first work session item is a tree canopy study presentation and discussion headed by Director of Infrastructure and Development, Amanda Pollock. Amanda,
Hi.
welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're pleased today to present our 2020 tree canopy study. And with me today is Alyssa Hastings, our sustainability coordinator. Also, we have Rebecca Weiner-Skinner from Biohabitats and Alan Gerard from Chesapeake Bay Foundation. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then Rebecca will share hers. But let me go ahead and pull up our presentation. All right, can everyone see that?
Yep.
Okay, great. So just for a little bit of background, this tree canopy study was funded from a grant from Chesapeake Bay Foundation, which came from the National Fish and Wildlife Federation. And this was part of our participation in the Healthy Waters Roundtable Working Group and the circuit rider that we participated in. So we were really pleased to have this completely funded by grants. So Salisbury contracted with Biohabitats to do this study, and Biohabitats is one of the vendors that is on our open-ended stormwater support contract. So this study provided for an understanding of what our current tree canopy is in the city, and it also provided recommendations for us for tree species as well as optimal planting locations. So essentially, why did we want to perform a tree canopy study? It's important for us to know what our tree canopy is so that then we can assess increases and decreases over time. If you don't know where you're starting out, you really don't know if we're successful in increasing or at least maintaining our tree canopy. We also needed a better way to respond for requests for tree donations and plantings, which we actually get fairly frequently. And we don't have, or did not before have, a really good process onto how to evaluate those requests and where to direct them to plant trees. This study is going to help us set goals for what our urban tree canopy should be. And Rebecca will show you that we can assess the tree canopy in terms of zoning types, neighborhoods, and all sorts of different ways to look at how our tree canopy is positioned. And then of course, trees offer many benefits. It improves air and water quality, reduces energy consumption, and helps with our carbon footprint. So I found it very interesting how Biohabitats attacked this project. And I wanted for Rebecca to share some of the GIS that went into the background and showed the results. So I'm going to turn this over to Rebecca, and I'm going to stop sharing, and hopefully she can share her screen. So thanks for being with us today, Rebecca.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Let me just give me 1 second. All right, let's see. Yep. All right, so what you're looking at here is the results of the tree canopy analysis that we conducted for the city. We did this utilizing high resolution aerials that are available from USDA. They're free. Anybody can access them and download them. And the process from that, where you take aerials and convert it over to land cover, is not by in itself a complicated or difficult process, but doing it in a way that you kind of ensure accuracy and have a better chance of not just randomly or statistically guessing what a given pixel is, that takes a little bit more work and effort. And I think that's part of what Amanda kind of wanted us to share today is kind of, I guess, to get an understanding and appreciation of kind of a little bit of what we went through to generate this land cover layer for you all. So maybe the first challenge that we encountered was that these high resolution aerials, they're done by flying over the city of Salisbury and really all of the United States. But the times a year that they fly over the city are different. So we end up with basically 3 bands of aerials, and the 2 outer bands, kind of the eastern edge and the western edge of the city, are flown over. I believe that's the November timeframe. And then the middle band is August. And if you think about trees and the stages that trees go through throughout the year, November, you're really talking about the very end of kind of leaf off, when trees have lost most of their trees. So a little bit of a challenge there, because we had essentially 2 different data sets that we were looking at. So what we're trying to do is we're using GIS and we're training it to understand and identify what areas are trees, non-tree vegetation, and just non-vegetation. So areas like bare soil, water, pavement. And so we go through and we pick out areas that we know are trees, we know are non-tree vegetation, and we know our pervious surfaces, and we tell the program about that. And so it learns as we tell it, these like very obvious areas, and then it can begin to learn and adapt and automate the conversion of the aerials over to land cover. So we went through that process. The aerials also include a texture layer, which we can use to help us refine the data and better understand what is trees versus non-tree vegetation. So once we went through that effort, we did an accuracy assessment. Again, we just want to make sure that we're statistically better than random chance. And we didn't really like the numbers that we saw. We wanted to do better. So we pulled in LiDAR data. And if you're not familiar, LiDAR, essentially, I'm oversimplifying, but it gives you height. So that is just an additional metric that we can look at to help differentiate trees from non-tree vegetation. Once we had that, then we went through and we did spot checks and did some manual corrections. And there are some areas here where we knew we did not have trees and we had to manually correct it. And that's one example is this kind of big wetland area down here. And so we knew this was a wetland area and not trees, but we had to tell it that these were not trees. So just an example of some of the manual corrections that we needed to do. So once we went through that process, we did come up with a pretty accurate, we were happy with the accuracy assessment. Basically, we got a 0.9, and anything above 0.8 has a pretty good confidence that you are assigning the values correctly, or that they are true, that they are not based on statistical chance. So we were happy with that outcome after that. And you can also notice just from this, I think there's some obvious results, right? Like we know that there's the Naylor Mill Park, which is a very forested area. We know that, downtown is not as forested, and we can see that here. And overall, the city has about, I believe it's 35.5% tree canopy coverage, which is pretty good. A lot of cities will reach tree canopy goals at 40%. So the city's, pretty close to that, just status quo. And so I think the goal here is to hopefully maintain that 35.5% tree canopy, which isn't zero effort, with new development and trees dying, aging out or dying off, there is the need to kind of keep up with that. But definitely a good baseline. And once we have this data, we can, slice and dice it a lot of different ways to make it even more informative. And so we looked at it a number of ways. One of the ways we looked at it was by zoning category, which may be particularly pertinent and useful right now as the city is going through its zoning code update to help inform, how does the zoning ordinance or the zoning code influence the amount of tree canopy. And so we certainly have some higher areas, some areas with high tree canopy coverage. Sorry, I will flip over to the legend. So this is over 70% tree canopy coverage. And we tend to see that, not surprisingly, in low density residential. And then we have areas that are, less than 5%, like the central business district here. We did see, I think, a fair amount of opportunity in the institutional land uses, like the university and the college districts. I think those are really good opportunities to increase tree canopy coverage. So certainly something to think about and consider, again, as you guys are going through zoning code updates. And I'll just highlight one other area that we looked at, and that's by neighborhood. And so you can see that there are neighborhoods with an impressive, again, more than 60% tree canopy coverage, which is amazing. And then some neighborhoods with very little, 5% or less tree canopy coverage. So if there are any efforts to promote or increasing tree canopy coverage, on private lots, within neighborhoods, these are certainly where I would suggest starting those efforts to work on those areas. And so I won't go through it, but I'll just also note that we also looked at this on a watershed basis, on a right-of-way basis, street trees. We looked at it by streams, what streams have good canopy coverage along the edges. That tells us a lot about stream health, if you've got a good tree canopy along your streams. And then SVI, which is the Social Vulnerability Index. And that's set up by the CDC. And so that kind of gives you an idea. That's maybe more of an equity kind of measure that you might want to look at, what disadvantaged areas have low tree canopies. We also looked at that as well. So we also, and I don't want to steal Alyssa's thunder at all, I'm just going to show it really quickly on a map, took this data and identified plantable areas on city property. And we did that by looking at a number of factors. Obviously, there's the number one factor is the ones with the least amount of tree canopy coverage. But then we also looked at neighborhoods that had very little tree canopy. And we also looked at connectedness, because the connectedness of tree patches are what gives us good habitat value. So if you have disparate patches of trees, that's not, from a habitat standpoint, that's less valuable. So you want to try to connect them up if you can. So I think Alyssa, is that right? Amanda is going to talk about the remainder of the study and kind of where you guys are going from here.
Yes, thank you so much, Rebecca.
And Rebecca, when you're done sharing your screen, I'll share mine again. And so I will note that all of that GIS data the city has, and we have it also in viewers, so we are able to access that. And John has brought that into to our GIS database as well. Okay, so let me share again. Okay, and Alyssa, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. So thank you, Rebecca. That was great. That was so thorough. So basically, it's exactly what Rebecca said. What did we find from our tree canopy study? We have about 3,200 acres in the city right now covered with trees, and that equates to about a 35.55% tree canopy percentage within the city. I was really happy to hear Rebecca say that that's good, because we also think that that's good. But of course, we want to maintain that, and we want to keep protecting it. The study, as Rebecca just said, allowed us to really think about where are spots that we could plant trees today. If a group comes to us and they say, hey, we want to plant 50 trees and we want to pay for them, where can we put them? These 4 sites, the Lake Street Park and Playground, Lower North Side City Park, the Riverwalk, and Waterside Park and Playground, those are locations where we don't have to do anything else but choose the exact location where we want those trees to be, and they're shovel ready. So that's really, really helpful for us, because before the study, we really didn't know exactly where the best locations to plant trees were. So next slide. So I'll also talk a little bit about the zoning recommendations. But before I do, I also want to highlight a couple of other things that were in this study that I found to be really, really helpful. As Rebecca mentioned, the neighborhood breakdown, that's really important, because we can tell which neighborhoods need trees the most, which neighborhoods have the most trees, and which neighborhoods are not seeing the tree canopy, which we see so many benefits from. I also wanted to mention the fact that this study also took into consideration sea level rise projections. So we looked at the 100-year floodplain, we looked at where sea level rise projections are heading, and we chose trees for those locations like bald cypress, river birch, or willow oak that will be able to handle more water. So then we're not planting trees that will not be able to survive longer term in these vulnerable areas near the river and in areas that are more vulnerable to sea level rise. So these zoning recommendations that we have talked to the city zoning consultant, and they will be taking these into consideration into the new zoning code. Establishing a no net loss of tree canopy requirement, that's really helping us to just maintain the current percentage that we have now. Creating minimum tree canopy / shading requirements, again, keep helping us to maintain the current amount of tree canopy that we have now. And then requiring street trees, that's an opportunity to really help some of the neighborhoods that don't have a lot of trees by requiring street trees also in new development as well. Next slide. So the full study, you can find it on our website under sustainability on the DID page. And why is this important? This is a foundation that the city can build upon. When we're going after grants, we can say that we have this data, we have these definite places, we've done this groundwork that now we can build upon. So another thing just to keep that we'll be seeing in the future, I'm going to be working with field ops to develop a really comprehensive tree donation policy so that it's a really seamless process from when people want to donate trees to when we have trees in the ground. We want to make it as easy and as simple as possible for us to increase our tree canopy. And then we also have 2 planting projects coming up. One is actually likely to happen this Saturday with Wicomico Environmental Trust. We're looking to plant some cypress trees along the Wicomico River. And then the native trees at Lake Street Park and Playground, that is a partnership with Chesapeake Utilities that has resulted in conversations with them. That one is actually looking like it may happen closer to the fall, just for the health of the trees. Next slide. So I just want to end by saying this. I love this graphic, this by the Arbor Day Foundation, because it really imparts to me this right tree, right place kind of strategy. We want to increase trees in the city, but we also want to make sure that they're the right kinds of trees in the right places. We want to make sure that we're not planting really, really tall trees by power lines or trees that are going to not do well in a more urban environment. We want to make sure that we're planting park trees in spaces that need park trees, and we're planting trees that will do well in the environment that they're in. So we started by looking really with these concept designs at locations that we own and that we can do tree plantings easily, but we also want to encourage the public to get out and plant trees as well, native trees if possible, in their yards and on their properties, so that we all can benefit from all the benefits of these trees. So we're happy to take questions, but I did want to give a second for Alan or Eric from Chesapeake Bay Foundation, if either one of you would like to add on.
Thanks, Alyssa, and thank you, Salisbury, for leaning forward into this fantastic work. What a great presentation. I think that really positions the city for the future. As Amanda mentioned, this project wouldn't be possible were it not for the Healthy Waters Roundtable working group of local jurisdictions that frankly help bring these resources to Salisbury. That working group is a group of local governments. It's Talbot and Queen Anne's counties, the town of Easton, town of Oxford, and the city of Cambridge, as well as the city of Salisbury, all working together to really test a proof of concept. How can we share the cost of project delivery? How can we bundle projects together so that the overall cost becomes less expensive for any single jurisdiction? And then how can we bring in new revenue? Now, those localities got a lot of forests and ditches, as well as wetlands installed in a number of locations throughout the 6 counties and towns that I mentioned. Salisbury said, look, we really need to get a canopy assessment in place before we take advantage of restoration opportunities. The funding community is really looking to collaboratives of local jurisdictions, NGO partners, as the way forward to be more efficient and effective at conservation. And this tree canopy study really puts Salisbury in a good place to attract more outside resources, as Alyssa said, to be shovel ready, knowing where projects are ready to go into the ground. And that just puts you in an excellent spot to partner with other jurisdictions, bring in new revenue, so it's not going to affect your budgets too, and be prepared for the future. So really appreciate Salisbury's good work. And thanks for the chance to share with you a bit.
Questions from the council, Mr. Boda?
Thank you all for this. Appreciate it. We have a lot of trees around our house, and it really helps in the summertime to help keep the house cool and all that stuff. So there's a lot of benefits when you have trees around the house. Helps break the wind if there's a really windy day. So, but yeah, it's a good thing, and I'm glad that we did this. Like you said, it's a starting point now, and it helps us to funnel these projects into the right place. So, good job.
Thank you. April?
Great purpose. And I do appreciate this because I didn't even know how important this was until it happened at the Billie Jean Jackson Park when they planted the trees. And we had this discussion about how trees help stop flooding and things of that sort and create shade and shelter for people. So, and not only that, it is healthy. So I appreciate it. Appreciate it a lot.
Thank you, April. Angela?
This is wonderful. I mean, Alyssa, you, the team, everything is great. The top three things that I recommend as a clinical social worker, especially with the children that I work with, is go in nature, be in nature, get outside. And it's just wonderful to know that our city is very conscientious to these types of efforts. Great job.
Michelle?
Just want to add on that I like the idea of finding trees to plant that are going to help us mitigate the effects of climate change going forward, and taking that into consideration is really a big deal, and I appreciate that. So I love it. I think it's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Alyssa, on the thing you had, there were 3 projects. There was a project about 1.5 years, 2 years ago from the Rotary Club wanting to do Carroll Street. Is that still alive or is it dead?
I'm going to ask Amanda to jump in here on this one.
Yeah, so we are still in design on Carroll Street. The Rotary Club, the timing didn't work out for them because they were trying to do it at a specific time to celebrate an anniversary. But I'm not sure if they have done another planting, so we'll definitely loop back in with them when Carroll Street's ready to go out, because we will be planting significant trees along Carroll Street with that project.
Good, that's great, thank you. And the other thing that is absolutely true, and I've lived through this frustration in where I live, and in our development, a couple things happened. Amanda, I think you're aware of some of this. We used to have beautifully lined streets in our development. And I'm not talking about the entrance because the trees are still there and it still looks nice. But on residents, I have to be careful with it. Residents were given the opportunity because some and very few sidewalks were being lifted because of either the improper tree, but also, I believe, because I'm not sure the builder during the time of building was code compliant, because there wasn't enough space, this is what we were told, for the roots. And it's very frustrating, but I will tell you, I am the only resident in this development that still has a tree in front of their house. And it's not coming down until it raises the sidewalk and I'm forced to do something. But I think the guidance relative to what kind of trees to put in and make sure that the codes are, people are living up to the codes. And I know we do a good job now, but 15 years ago, 18 years ago, I'm not so sure. So those are my 2 comments. And I think it is appropriate that we're reviewing the codes now. And just to make sure that I would love to see this development with beautiful tree-lined streets. So that's one of the reasons why I moved here. So I'm a little frustrated, but this is great ammunition right here. And you know, it's nice to have the ammunition to move forward. And you guys have done a great job, and it's appreciated by all of us. So thank you. Okay, anything else on this topic? Amanda, any closing statements?
No, again, just glad you all were receptive to hearing this. And I will just say, while Rebecca's here, Rebecca in her previous job helped us form the MS4 program that we have today. So you've not met her before, so I just wanted to give her a shout out for that. She's been integral in helping me for years here. And now with Biohabitats is working with us on a variety of different projects. So
great. Thank you, Rebecca. And thank you again, Alan. Appreciate all your help.
Thank you.
Okay, next up on the agenda, we have a budget amendment to purchase Energov software. Deputy City Administrator Andy Kitzrow is going to take us through this.
Yeah, I'm going to start it off, and then I've got some firepower with me from the Information Services team.
Yeah.
Bill said he's eager to talk to you guys again today. As you may recall, over the last couple of years, Energov has crept its way into our budget discussions. but has never made it across the finish line because it has a pretty hefty price tag with it. But we have for years been advocating for the implementation, the addition of this software package. The package is part of the Tyler Technologies package, which hosts most of our other software platforms like Munis. So the more software they can put on the same kind of platform in the same umbrella, they can talk really well to each other and have that option to be able to collaborate between the different softwares. And Bill and John can go into that a little bit more here momentarily. But what we're presenting to you is a budget amendment because of some vacancies this year and some savings that we were able to put together as a result of COVID. We're actually able to fund the purchase of Intergov this year with money we have. It does have a price tag that's $193,000, which, upfront looks like a pretty good sticker shock. A lot of that has to do with training and the amount of seats that we're going to have for that. But really what Intergov is going to do is it's going to deal with two major components of the way that we operate our city. One is our code enforcement and our ability to improve our tracking and our citation, municipal infraction. And then something new that we're going to be diving into is building permits and inspections that we do right now in a little bit of an archaic way through Excel and paper and pencil, but this is going to allow us to really track that stuff online and really streamline our processes. Not only stand that whole system up, but also have it be able to talk to each other. In the packet, I gave four big bullet points on exactly what the program is going to do, and then the breakdown of what we need from a budget amendment. The goal is the budget amendment actually is to make sure that the equal accounting of how we're going to pay for this is applied to the different departments that will be using this service. So we have about an equal share between housing and community and then infrastructure and development and how we're going to be using it. But I do want to turn it over to Bill and or John. They can talk a little bit more about the robustness and the reason why we want this software package. And then they can answer most of the questions that you guys may have about the actual software and why we be a benefit to migrate to this software platform. Bill?
Yeah. So as Andy said, the goal here is to kind of bring everything into John's favorite term is to get rid of silos. We've got a bunch of different software, a bunch of different databases spread across multiple platforms. And by consolidating both the permitting and inspections, the code compliance modules into the Tyler platform, it allows us to have one centralized database where essentially Munis is, where we can query, we can pull reports, we can manipulate that data, and the different modules will talk to each other, allow us to do other analysis and other data routines on it. One thing Andy didn't mention that is also a big boon to this is the landlord licensing part. We've had an issue with data entry in Munis for a long time. Basically rendering the data that has been collected, it's been a pain for the HCDD group as well as for finance. It hasn't been collected the proper way. By enabling the Intergov workflow, it'll allow us to fine tune how that data is being entered into Munis, which will give us much cleaner data going forward, allow us to fine tune our reporting and get a better idea of landlord compliance, and allow us to better see the landlord's situation within the city limits. This will basically allow us to use one centralized set of servers. We have an array on the high availability array that we're doing as part of the CIP, where we can take the various data sets, and then John's team, John, I'll let you step in here in a second. John's team can pull reports, can analyze, can do all manner of things that we're currently unable to, simply because, for instance, the HCDD product that they're using now is called Comcate. It's a third-party service that's hosted in the cloud. we send them periodic data from the state's SDAT information about property. But in order for us to get any of our data, any of the data that HCDD has plugged in about any citations, any information at all, we have to submit a request to them in writing via email, and then they have to enter it into a queue. It could take up to a month or so for them to actually process it. They then grab the data and send us a dump of that data. By the time we get it, it's already very outdated because it takes so long for the process from us requesting to them getting the data to us. We've done it, I think, once because it was just such a pain to do. We decided that that's when we really wanted to start looking into alternative data collection methods, which is where Energov came in. Now it is a pretty hefty price tag, as Andy said, but it's the functionality, the way it brings everything into one cohesive system is just, it is an excellent product. John, do you want to step in and talk about some of the nitty gritty on it?
You're mute, John. You have to unmute yourself.
For
John,
IT guy.
You're muted.
There you go.
Got it. Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
You know, we do recognize that, you know, one of the stumbling blocks with Energov has always been its price tag. Fortunately, we do have an opportunity this year with the funds that the administration has identified to be able to move forward with this if you got, you know, if the council approves. The biggest thing we fight within the city, and not just with this system, but across the board, is a smooth transfer of data and data flow, accessing that data, and then being in a timely manner and being able to analyze and put it out. Energov really allows us to do that because it brings a lot of our real-time data, the data that's affected by real-time issues within housing code compliance, within infrastructure and development, permits, inspections, plan review. It brings it home into our primary enterprise system, which is Tyler Tech or Munis. And it allows us then to be able to reach into that onto a real-time basis, look at the data, analyze it, and then put it back out in a manner that housing or infrastructure and development can act on and make decisions on in a rapid format to make better informed decisions and ultimately to better put the resources where they need to be put. So like I said, we've been looking at this since 2018. Would love to finally put this one to bed and move forward with it. I think it'd be a great program, and it would put us, you know, where we need to be with it.
The only other final comments I'd like to make real quick is one of the neat parts about Energov is there is a user portal as well as the administrative side of the house that we would be accessing, where somebody who owns a particular property would in real time be able to know what permits that they have that they're dealing with, what municipal infractions that they're dealing with. So a landlord or a developer would be able in real time be able to know what they're dealing with on the inventory and have a pretty seamless conversation with our engineers or our code enforcement officers through a very elaborate dashboard, which is a great thing to have. It's going to add this really nice customer service opportunity there. And then just, I didn't mention earlier with the budget amendment, it's not a request of surplus funds. We have the funding, so it is not new money, it's found money. That's all.
Couple of questions I've got. One, we had the financial health presentation this morning. Is this represented in the financial health package?
It's not represented, well,
because it's surplus, it's coming out of surplus, I assume, right?
It is not coming out of surplus. Amanda has had some vacancies throughout this year in HCDD, and then we had some extended transition over in housing community development and some additional savings because our community centers weren't open. So between a couple of just cost savings initiatives and not quickly filling vacancies, funding was available to be able to take care of this now. So no additional funding. It's just more moving money into the right accounts to then pay for it moving forward.
Gotcha. Okay. That's the first question. The second question, I've heard now over the last couple of years, Munis issues. Is Munis the right system for us?
I can speak to that. This Munis or Tyler has multiple different groups. There's the Munis group, there's the Energov group, they have different systems. The Energov, the problem we have with Munis 9 times out of 10 is with their technical support. The system itself works fine. For being as old as it is, we're in the middle of an upgrade. That is supposed to be live this month. There's still a few little issues that finance has tracked down that we're working through. The new version is web-based. It's a lot more modern. It's a lot nicer. It's a lot more user-friendly and just, it's a better system. The problem we have a lot of times with the legacy version that we have of Munis is that there are only certain people in the Tyler group in the Munis support that are able to work on it because it is such a legacy system. So when we finish with this upgrade here, hopefully in the next month or so, that'll allow us to move into a more modern system where they'll have a better support group, which we're hoping will be a better support for the system. When it comes to Energov, they have a whole different support system, a whole different support group. So my understanding in talking with other customers is that the Energov product has a much better support system than even the current version of Munis. So Tyler is, I guess, they're the largest software company, public sector software company in the United States, in North America. So they got a lot of irons in the fire. They have a lot of things going on. I think when you get that big, you tend to have just issues here and there. But when it comes to what their system can do, it really is second to none. There's no other product out there that can do as much and as efficiently as Munis or Tyler can. So
are they the same? Are they the same parent company?
Yes, Tyler Technologies is Munis, Energov, the whole. Yeah.
So you're saying it's going to interface with Munis, which isn't optimized. It's a legacy.
Oh, no. This system is not compatible. The Energov system is not compatible with the current legacy version of Munis. So we wouldn't actually, it's going to take about months to actually coordinate, configure, get the workflows ready. By the time we're ready to implement the Energov module, the Energov product, we will be live on the new version of Munis. So it'll integrate with that. It's already up and running. We're just doing the testing on it now. So they're going to implement that into the new version of Munis so that when we go live with it, it'll be just flip the switch and everything is ready to go.
Okay, so the Munis we're dealing with now is going to be out.
Correct.
Completely.
Yes. Completely.
Okay, that's an important piece.
Yes, it is
because I've been through this with SAP and a couple other systems that, you know, it's been built-in obsolescence, forcing you to move forward,
right,
and then doubling in cost and et cetera.
Right. Yeah. No. The version of Munis we're going to. One of the things we have software support assurance. So the upgrades in Munis cost us nothing. So we are going from the old legacy version, which was, I think, created around a DOS-based application many years ago. Yeah, that's just how dated it is. But the new version is re-engineered completely from the ground up, all new nuts and bolts, all new infrastructure. So it's a modern system, and it's what most municipalities our size and larger are running is this newer version. So it's been a long time in the making, but we're finally ready to push that out.
Right, I feel better.
On top of that,
I feel better. So any questions? Any other questions, Mir?
Normally when we do budget amendments like this, we have the different accounts included in there that we're transferring money from. The only thing, we only have just one account listed on here. Is that something, are we going to add that, or are we not doing that?
So I just want to make sure we're on the same page. There is an item 1 and an item 2 on the ordinance that's in the budget packet. It's moving this money from the housing community development, increasing into that and taking money from infrastructure and development. So again, from a transparency standpoint, Amanda's had more money to be able to contribute to this project. Housing and Community Development did not have as much, they didn't have as much available. But since they're going to be equal users, from a Keith standpoint, which he likes to do, is to make sure that when we pay for it, we're paying for who's going to be using it. So we just need to move some money out of Amanda's pocket into the Housing Community Development. Ron owes Amanda a steak dinner, but it's where I think we're going to be where we need to be.
Okay,
So it's more of that.
Even interdepartment, I know when we did the police communications thing, the police department they had stuff from different accounts in there and they moved it into the purchase account, and that was done in the ordinance. I just sometimes just not in it here. I just was wondering if we were going to do that.
I can give you all the accounts. A lot of that stuff, we have the money in the actual accounts. And when we do our purchase order, they're sitting in each department's. So if you want that detail, I can provide that to explain how it's going to be broken down. It's about 7 accounts that are going to end up paying for the purchase order. We just needed to do budget amendments. We can't transfer money interdepartmentally without going to council. So we had the money within the accounts other than this final adjustment.
Andy, if you could do that for us, we'd appreciate it.
Another question. I think Lynn, Ms. Bratton posted one. Is there annual updates, annual costs for subscriptions? Is there anything ongoing with this program?
Yes, so like Comcate and anything that's typically a third-party software, there's an ongoing licensing fee. It's a little bit of an uptick from what we're paying right now with Comcate. I think it's a couple thousand extra dollars we'd have to pay for the recurring intergov. I can get an exact number for that. But we typically, when you have these type of programs, you have this annual maintenance or annual cost for the upgrades.
And are we adding that extra cost in our current budget?
The total inclusive cost of the 193 covers the first year.
Okay.
So we don't have to, but in FY23,
gotcha.
We'll make that adjustment when we transfer out Comcate and put this in.
Okay, thanks, Mir. Angela, any questions?
What, and this could probably be an Amanda question, because I was asking earlier, I went back through my notes looking at the HCDD. They were requesting type, but I think it was like some of the employee appointed people, personnel. Does that software cover any of this? It was something to measure like stormwater management, or
This is
it's a totally different thing?
Yep.
Okay.
April?
I have no questions.
Thank you. Michelle?
No, you guys covered it.
Okay. On this project, because of the dollar amount, I'd like to do a roll call and see if you're in favor of moving it forward. Mr. Boda?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Blake?
I would like to move it forward, but on our next presentation, if Andy could get us the account, like the departments and the account balances from those departments would be great. So we can see how many people are going to be using it.
Andy, got that?
Yes.
Perfect. Michelle?
Yeah, moving forward.
Okay. Ms. Nichols, if you would get that on the agenda, we'll take this up on the next meeting. Okay, and we have one more item on the agenda. Thank you, by the way, for your presentation, guys. Appreciate it. We have an ordinance to repeal rental increase fees. City Administrator and Acting Mayor, Ms. Glanz.
Good evening again, Council. As we chatted about last time, we're proposing rescinding Resolution 2599 that was passed last year in June at the height of the pandemic to limit the increases on rent and any rental fee increases. I think we all realize that we are in a much better place than we were a year ago. and that it is time to pull back on this and allow for businesses to manage their properties as they deem appropriate. So this ordinance, it rescinds the entire ordinance 2599 for your consideration.
Thank you. Question, we had a brief discussion on this last time, but if you let me know if you have any questions and whether we should move it forward, please let me know. Mr. Boda?
No questions. I think we've discussed this, and I support moving it forward.
Great, thank you. Ms. Jackson?
Moving forward.
Thank you. Ms. Blake?
Move it forward.
Thank you. Mrs. Gregory?
Move it forward.
Okay, it's unanimous. We'll move that forward. Ms. Nichols, if you can get that on the agenda as well, I would appreciate it. This point in time, we'll take administration and council remarks. Ms. Glantz?
Just thank you for your time today earlier. It's such a nice opportunity to talk about the budget and talk about some of the exciting things that we have planned for the next year, and we are getting better at it. So just invite the public to join us on Wednesday to hear from the rest of the half of the team. There should be some more meat to those, I think. It looks like we're going to get some more information on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine by Friday. Looks like it will be approved in some regard. So hopefully we can get that into the arms of our community members here and keep all this progress up. And we've got the keys to the Newton Community Center. We are working on some initial programming that will start soon, and we will have I think a soft ribbon cutting here in June. So stay tuned.
Thank you. Mr. Boda?
Good to see everybody again today. Hopefully next year we can be doing our budget and our meetings hopefully soon back in the council chambers. I'm officially fully vaccinated, and I had no issues except for a little sore arm. So grateful. I did take a day off work just in case, but it was so excited to be able to feel more comfortable being around people, and like I said, looking forward to getting back. And then just keep supporting our restaurants and our businesses in our city, and make sure we're tipping our waitresses, our drivers, and everybody really good. Thank you all. And leave cookies out tonight for cookies and milk out tonight for Willie Nelson, because tomorrow's 420.
Oh, now your age is coming out. So anyway, thank you, Mr. Boda. Ms. Jackson, can you top that?
No, I have an issue though. I might top it. The vehicles on, I know this is a work session, and I guess this is where I'm going to have to bring it. I've asked about maybe not quite a year ago about the vehicles on the city lawn yard that are abandoned and are not in use, and there's several of them, and it's an eyesore to my district. It's an eyesore to the community, and I would like to see those vehicles moved off of that property. They're just sitting there, and I talked to Tom before about it, and nothing's ever been done. So I've had several complaints from the community about those abandoned vehicles, and I would just like to see something be done about them.
Are they the surplus vehicles?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've got the auctioneer on contract, and I'm not sure if we have figured out when our first batch of items go for auction out on Route 50. but I will get confirmation from Jana on that tomorrow and follow back up with you, April. But we
And
want
because
to get all that stuff removed as quickly.
Yeah, they've been sitting there quite a while, and it's hideous every time I ride by. And then I may have a constituent call me about it, and I'm, kind of, it's upsetting. And and I'm going to be perfectly honest, it wouldn't be in anybody else's community sitting like that. I can bet you that. So I just want to see them out of there because it's an eyesore. It's a complete eyesore. And there are plenty other eyesores in the city, but that should have been taken care of a while ago. It shouldn't have been sitting there like that. I just want to say thank you, Mir, for getting your shot, your vaccination. And for anybody else who has not gotten theirs, please get it. Remind you to stay safe. So still social distance, wear your mask, and continue to sanitize yourselves. I just want to say, this morning at our budget meeting, it was a great meeting, great budget meeting. We were out of there in no time. And I appreciated that because I said, Lord, from 8 to 5, I don't know if I can stand it that long. But the fact of the matter is we took care of business and we did it expeditiously. And, it was accurate. Everything is good and everybody's intact. So thank you all. Thank you, citizens of Salisbury. Have a great evening.
Thank you, April. Ms. Blake?
And just as always, if you're healthy enough, please donate blood. That one pint of blood gives many, many people, even with chronic health problems, if they need a small infusion, small boost, whatever it is, it could be as minor as that or a major accident. We're very short in the region, and if you're healthy, please just give blood.
Thank you, Angela. Michelle?
Just, go get your vaccines. They're open to everybody 16 and up. So go get them. We're down to one person with one shot left in our household. So please go get your vaccines so we can all have a great summer.
Thank you, Michelle. I too, again, support your local merchants and restaurants. They do have an issue and it's a serious issue. And I was talking to someone the other day about a restaurant owner who came up to me and I said, how come you have more signs not available in your restaurant than you did the last time I was in? And they said very succinctly that they have 14 of their 45 wait staff that have not come back. And the reason they haven't come back is because they're making more money with the check that they're getting from the government than they are for working. And it's causing a lot of problems in a lot of restaurants. And you go right down the list and see. And that's why there's waiting time. Your meals are longer to get to your table. And I know it's a tough situation, but I didn't even think about that side of it until it was pointed out to me. And once we get back to normal, if we're going to do that, we're going to have people getting back to work. And I don't know, I don't have a solution, but I know it's an issue with a lot of restaurants. So please support them. Even if you do some takeout, that helps. That helps. So with that, that concludes our agenda for today. Thank you all for contributing. It was some good, healthy discussions. And we'll see you hopefully next Monday evening. And when we're going to take care of some of these new resolutions and ordinances. So thank you, everyone. We are adjourned. Have a great night.